You are listening to The Four Corners, the official podcast of No Counters, No Combos. What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to the Four Corners podcast. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Dylan Ashcraft from the Cuddle Crew. Shout out to Cuddle Crew. So Dylan was nice enough to join us tonight. So if you wouldn't mind saying hello to all the people, Dylan, how are you tonight and what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Pretty good tonight. Very tired. I had a long day of classes, but other than that, pretty good.
So you mentioned classes. Are you in college or are you still a high school student?
No, I'm a junior in college.
Oh, okay, cool. So do you go to school with Corbin?
No, actually. He's like a solid 2 hours away from me.
Oh, wow. That's pretty wild. I mean, I know Corbin was on with us a little while ago. Shout out to you, Mr. Nessfetter, if you're listening. And he actually reached out and said that you had some interest in being featured, and it was great because I didn't really have any plans for anything, so I'm glad, it just kind of fell into my lap. So I definitely thank you for being on with us tonight, and we're going to have some fun, man. We're going to talk about some good stuff. We're going to talk about some Dragon Ball, and we'll get it going. So the first thing I want to ask is I know that you went to the recent celebration events in North Carolina and Orlando. And if I'm not mistaken, unfortunately, you were part of the group that had to leave the event early due to travel arrangements. So if you wouldn't mind just elaborating on that a little bit, just talk about your experience with the whole flight situation.
Yeah, so in Orlando, going to the last round, I was X1 at table 7. And I had to concede to the guy because I had to, leave to catch my flight. Well, so the initial thought is, oh, why didn't you book a later flight? Which was like what my teammate Cameron Wood said to me. But I booked accordingly. Like I had a 9:30 flight or something like that. And just the fact that like the tournament took really long. Like we didn't start till like 11:30, and then it took way too long to get to the last round.
Now, was this Orlando, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, the Orlando event was a PPG event?
Yes, it was the PPG celebration in Orlando.
Was it their first one?
Celebrations? Yes.
Okay. So,
it was their first celebration. They've done like the Pro Play tours in the past. Like I was at Atlanta, and like Atlanta went really smoothly. The celebration had a lot of issues.
Now, do you think that's more of like PPG being inexperienced? And I obviously have no ill will towards PPG at all. Do you think that's just due to them not being experienced with the event, or was it like one of those things where they had more people than they projected being there at the event?
I don't think it was an inexperienced thing. I think it was there was about, I think they said 400 people, and then they dropped about half. They had to drop half the room because they were fake signups. Because there's Yu-Gi-Oh players, and then in the room over who found out there was a free tournament where you were getting free packs and free like mats on entry. So they were signing up and getting stuff to sell it, and then people who registered through Bandai's thing online, which was also just a hassle because like people would register and be like, "Oh, I'm coming," and then if you can't make it, well, you're still technically there, and you have to get dropped. So and then there was a lot of issues. There was a repair at one point too, so.
That's rough, man. So was that just off, from the get-go, like day one? Because I'm assuming it was a 2 or 3 day event. So was there problems, with the timing?
Well,
go ahead.
The team event ran pretty smoothly. That was day one. The team event was Saturday and Sunday. Which if Bandai ever does the celebrations again, they need to flip-flop that. The singles event has to be on Saturday, and the team event should be on Sunday.
That just makes more sense because I figure in a single event you're going to just naturally need more time to finish it out anyway. So I honestly don't understand why they do it on Sundays.
Yeah, well, because like the singles event's the bigger of the two. Because like if your 3v3 team wins the team event, you're like, cool, like we won the team. But like if you win the singles event, you won that tournament, and that's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like what Bandai is doing. Giving you the variety of doing multiple formats or multiple play styles, with the singles event and the team events, but I just think it needs to be structured a little bit better. Like, I know a lot of the events that are planned and are going to continue to be planned, they seem to be slotting them in for 3 days now. Like, I'm planning on going to the ARG event in Atlantic City in June, and it's slotted for 3 days. So I'm just like, what are they going to do in these 3 days? Because that's not a celebration event. That's just the invitational. So,
what are they doing on Friday?
I don't know. I'm assuming they're going to do some type of a team thing because it's literally slotted for 3 days. It's June 28th, 29th, and 30th. So I'm like, okay, well, if there's a team event on a Friday, that makes sense. But I hope they don't do the singles on a Sunday. I'm sure there's going to be side events. ARG is really good at putting together side events, but it's an invitational. So to me, that sounds more of like I don't want to say exclusive, but you have to have an invite in order to participate, unless I'm crazy. But I just don't know what their plan is to continue with these 3-day events. Not only that, but people have to take off of work on a Thursday so they can get there for Friday, and it might be a little more complicated than just let's drive down to AC and spend 3 days there, playing Dragon Ball.
Yeah. I think probably what's going to happen. So if like you said, if Friday's the team event, Saturday's going to be the singles, and then Sunday will be Top Cut with like
side events.
Jim usually does a bunch of side events, and I trust Jim. I 100% trust Jim to run a good 3-day weekend tournament. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think that it's anything that they can't handle. I mean, ARG literally has been solely responsible for the pro circuit here with the Dragon Ball Super card game, and obviously we as players owe a lot to Jim and ARG and what they've done for us. I mean, it's obviously branched out now. You have PPG doing stuff, you have Core TCG on the West Coast doing stuff, so it's definitely branched out, but I feel like ARG was, the first ones to carve, to etch their name in the stone and give us something to play for, because it's fun playing on a local level, but at a certain point you're like, I kind of want to play for something more than just a couple packs here and there. I want to test myself against the competition, and if you consider yourself a good player, you obviously want to see where you stack up against all of the other good players in the community. So it's definitely nice that Jim and ARG, they do a lot of hard work to provide us with that. So shout out to ARG, shout out to Jim and ARG if they are listening to this podcast. We really do appreciate what you guys do for the community, since day one, of course. But with that being said, excuse me. So you were X1 going into the final round, and then you conceded, right?
Yeah.
So that sucks. It's hard to hear that. But what deck were you playing? Because this is post set 6, correct? So set 6 was already legal for this event.
Orlando was pre-set 6. North Carolina was post.
So what were you playing in Orlando?
This is the easy answer, actually, for both. I played the same deck, but for Orlando, I played Baby Vegeta, or Vegeta Baby, because I was just coming off of a top 4 finish at the Atlanta Pro Play Tour with Vegeta Baby, and I was like, all right, well, I'm confident with the deck. I know all of its matchups.
Right.
So Orlando went really well. North Carolina, not as well.
Yeah. So what happened? Because if I'm not mistaken, you went. If you had to concede, you probably just missed top 32 cut at Orlando, and then
So it was top 16 cut, top 32 pricing. I was 33rd, so I didn't even get the pricing.
Damn, that's rough. And then at North Carolina, what happened at North Carolina?
So I took Baby Vegeta. I won round 1. Round 2, I ran into a Janemba who game 1 milled all 4 of my 1-drop babies within the first 3 turns, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good. And then game 2, I used Tian Shrouded to win, and then game 3, he beats me because he mills through all my 6-drop babies, so I can't finish the chain.
That's rough.
It happened. And now I'm going to play a couple more rounds, and then I run into oh my god, I shouldn't forget his name because we've played before, and I did his deck profile for the Ellipsis channel. Crap. I'm gonna get a Facebook message. Played against a guy playing the Veku Ramp Gogeta deck.
Okay.
And I found out real easily that when you can play 1 foreseeing hit a turn, that's pretty good. But when they can play 2 foreseeing hit in 1 turn, their deck is 10 times better.
Oh yeah, it is pretty savage going up against 2 foreseeing hits. in one turn. I mean, that's kind of rough. I mean, there's not much you can do, if your opponent has enough energy to play that out. I mean, the Veku ramp is a very interesting deck, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. I haven't actually put it together and sleeved any of the cards up, but some of my teammates have been playing it, and it looks like a really fun deck. I mean, I'm the type of dude that tries not to play what everybody else is playing, so I play more things that are off the cuff. But I'm definitely intrigued by the Veku. It looks like a lot of fun, and being able to play just big bombs out for whenever you want. It seems like a pretty good strategy.
Yeah, Veku ramp is a lot of fun. Our joke is it's like the new SS3 because you're comfortably dropping Dragon Fist, Kefla, the World Martial Arts Secret Rare, which was the Ellipsis go-to card.
Yeah, spicy tech.
Just comfortably dropping those cards and having energy to protect yourself. It just feels really good.
I mean, and you're also playing a pretty good color combination in red-blue because you have access to Dimension Magic with the blue leader, but you can also, obviously the Vegeta and Goku BR stuff is red, so then you can play the red cards that are like later games, like you mentioned hits and you mentioned Keflas. I've seen some people even play Babidi with it, and like just play the 6-drop Babidi with the 6 red energy, and then just bring 2 cards off of that. So it seems like a lot of fun, but the only problem that I have with it is those cards are maybe not so much now because a lot more people have it. They've just made the conscious decision of purchasing the cards, online and making the investment in the packs. But when they originally came out, it seemed like it was kind of difficult to get your hands on those cards, and it was very limited for quite some time. So I'm glad that, it seems to be a little more available now, because that seems like a deck that everybody should at least try once just to have some fun. Because I think us as competitive players, we try to be so good at everything that we forget sometimes to have fun, and it shows sometimes, but that's a conversation for a different day. So you did well in Orlando. You didn't have the same success in North Carolina, and I'm guessing you didn't go to the Chicago. So are you planning on going to any future events, coming up, in the near future?
Yeah. So I'm debating on it right now, but whether or not I want to go to Boston.
Okay.
Just because I know if I go to Boston, I'm going to play Super Shenron because it feels like it's one of those formats where there's 1 or 2 choices to play, and I can't really afford the other one right now because Secret Rare Boo just hit $400.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was talking about it with my teammate Brian the other day because he really wants to play the Secret Rare Boo deck with the Agents of Destruction and stuff. And I was like,
Agents of Dende.
Agents of Dende. Like, I was like, it's $200. I'll wait for it to drop to like 100, and then I'll cop it or I'll pick it up, and then you can just use it. And then I looked. My teammate Kevin actually screenshotted TCG pricing, and he put it in our group chat, and it was $400. I was like, that's not gonna happen. I'm not shelling out $400 for a card. That's just a little ridiculous, It's just too much. It's too much. I mean, it's a great card. Don't get me wrong, but hopefully, if all of the rumors are true about them actually printing the second wave of Set 6, that card's going to plummet in value. So for those who are spending, the $400 on it right now, it just feels a little bad. I don't know. That's a lot of money for a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
But the deck is good. It functions. It's been successful. There's 2 different variants, if I'm not concerned. There's the Agents of Dende and then the Agents of Super Shenron.
Super Shenron.
Yeah.
I saw Hirudegarn topped San Jose.
I was watching. That'd
be cool, Super Shenron.
Yeah, I was watching a stream. I forget which event it was. It's probably not as relevant because it was during the team events, which is a little more restrictive as what cards you can use. But somebody was playing the Agents of Destruction with the Super Shenron leader, and I thought it looked pretty
cool.
Yeah, it looked pretty interesting. But I guess at that point, what makes Dende so good is it's blue, and obviously blue leaders are just good, and the ultimate skill's pretty good with the untap too. So I don't really know I haven't played against the deck personally, and I haven't tested it myself, so I'm not really sure if the ultimate is even relevant, but I've seen the combo and getting out that secret rare like turn 2 or turn 3 with all of your agents in the drop area, and then just them bringing out whatever the situation calls for, whether it's Slug, ripping cards out of your hand, or Vegeta just blowing up your board. It's pretty vicious. It's kind of gross. So, with that being said, you're just happy with the Super Shenron and how it's going to be turning out for you?
Sorry, my internet cut out a little. What was the question?
So, you mentioned trying to go to Boston, and you were kind of set on playing Super Shenron. Have you been having success testing the deck so far?
Yeah. So I've been casually playing it. Casually playing a Storm deck. I've been casually. It's such a weird sentence. Yeah. I've been playing it here and there since Danny topped with it in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. I haven't played around with the Height of Mastery version, but I definitely, in theory, it's the best version of the deck because, Height of Mastery was insane because of Path to Greatness, and then taking another turn and then playing Height of Mastery.
Right.
Sounds pretty good.
So with that being said, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 variants of Super Shenron that you can play. There's the Storm variant, which I guess is the Danny Wynn variant. There's the Jordan Beard variant, which focuses more on like Preface of Recovery Son Goku. And then there's the, I guess, Marcus Kentarsi variant, which sides in the Height of Mastery.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your preference, are you focusing more on that Height of Mastery, or are you going to try the Danny Wynn version?
Alright, so I'm not gonna lie, I think I'd mash together the 3 as best as so I'd side deck the Height of Mastery because I feel like that's just the best side deck choice I think you would go for. But I think
I agree.
I think maining the Preface isn't a terrible idea. I don't know about maining Beans or anything, but maining Preface is another untap option, and is a 15k to get around side deck options for the Storm Hate. So the power booster to Meager that says 10Ks or less can attack. Yeah. You can't swing with Explorer Bulma then, but your Child's Wish, the Preface, you get a swing in at least. So
yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean essentially they're similar because of the untap. I mean, you can play the Child's Wish to bring back the Preface and untap, so essentially you're playing it for free, but Bulma being able to mill the 2 cards and draw you a card is just giving you more value. Yes, one is 15k and swinging with Barrier. Bulma, you have to commit combo power to it if you want to do damage, but it is also drawing you a card, so you're essentially plussing 1, and then you're also milling your cards, so you're fueling your drop area for your ultimate skill, so I mean, I think personally, I do agree with what you're saying. Preface just has better side deck options, especially because it has Barrier, so it's something that they have to get over without a removal spell or anything like that. And it is 15k, so they definitely will have to combo up into it. But I don't know, I feel like...
Oh, I'd 100% still main Explorer Bulma. I'd still play 4 of that card. I'm just saying, I would play 2 Preface.
Yeah.
Just to, recycle them as another untap option.
Yeah, I just feel like that deck, you just see so many of your cards that you're never really going to be in an awkward situation where you're like, where are my Bulmas, or where is this card that I need? I've played the Storm variant of the deck, and I've made adjustments here and there to, to kind of put my own playstyle into it. In my variant, I mainboard the 1-drop Whis that is kind of like a Borgos, and I also mainboard 2 of the Bardock Will of Iron, so that my 1-drop Bardocks actually get me value late game. And I also don't have to rely on Fu so much as a win con when I'm putting pressure with my Ape on the board. When you take your second turn, if you have an Ape or 2 Apes on the board and everything restands, you take your second turn and you're able to overwhelm in that second turn, you're kind of winning that turn. So I made the decision to just kind of put the 2 Apes and then just play 1 of Mira and 1 of Fu, because you're going to see them anyway, because the deck just is insane. At one point, I was experimenting with Super Dragon Ball for my turn 2 play, but tapping out on turn 2 just feels so bad. So I was like, yeah, I'm just play the regular, just 0-drop Dragon Balls because it just feels a lot better. I don't know. I mean, Joey from Crossworld TCG is a good friend of mine, and he posted a video on his channel today about the problem with Super Shenron. It does feel like it's a little too much, but I don't think. Obviously, it wasn't. Bandai didn't design that leader for it to intentionally be played the way it was played by Danny Wynn. I mean, if you look at Danny Wynn's deck, he literally has no cards from set 6 except for the leader. It's cards that already exist. So I don't think it's the leader so much that's the problem. I think it's the combination of all of the other cards that you put with it. Maybe Child's Wish is the problem, but I just feel like the 1-drop Bardock and that swap mechanic just gives you so much advantage and pressure early game that your opponent just either is going to take damage to the face or waste cards to combo out of. So being a player that, with your experience that you've actually played the deck, obviously I'm pretty sure everybody in the community is in the agreement that this deck needs to get hit or touched or something. So if you could just give your 2 cents as to what you would do to fix it.
There's a lot of things. Like, this deck is like, if you took all the problems in Dragon Ball and put it together, this is what you get. But I think personally, banning a Child's Wish that's the first step I'd go to, because Richard Zapp has said it in a shout out to him, love him, has said before in like the main group, and I think Pat O'Neill has too. If you ban Bulma, right, and you get rid of like Super Shenron, like the leader, if you just use those 2 hits and say F it, let's get rid of it. There's a lot more turn 3 kills like that come out. Like I guess we can talk about it now that Zap posted the Patreon article. There's a U7 turn 3 kill, there's the Agents of Destruction turn 3 kill, and this is all just because of Child's Wish. And I'd either limit Child's Wish to once per turn, or I would just get rid of the card and try and make.
But do you feel like the Child's Wish argument, so I'm going to play devil's advocate in this situation, since we're talking about it. Do you feel like if the target for limitation is Child's Wish, whether it's a hard once per turn or just complete banning the card, does it hurt, the actual Wish archetype? Like, Child's Wish is such a powerful card because of the value that it presents you, playing essentially a 3-drop battle card for 1 less energy. So you're kind of manipulating the turn that you're playing it. But if you now take that card away, does it hurt all of the other Shenron decks that, let's be honest, no one is playing? But when the card was designed originally, it was to help support those specific archetypes. So do you feel like if it's limited to a hard once per turn or completely banned, that it just makes other Shenron decks unplayable?
So yes, like fundamentally yes. If you get rid of a Child's Wish, it hurts every non-tier 1 Wish deck. But you played Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's saying like the banning of Zodiac Broad Bull hurt Fire Fist. Fire Fist played the card, but like, was Fire Fist anywhere near relevant during Zoo format?
Got you.
Like, I think for the sake of the game, those cards need, like, those very niche Wish decks should probably just accept the fact that their best card has to go. It's a shame that like we have to hit that point, but broken cards are broken cards, and sometimes you just got to get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand, where you're coming from, especially because of how it's impacting the meta right now. But then does it become something where if Child's Wish does get banned, does it become something where you're now just playing World Peace and you're waiting 2 more turns and you're just abusing World Peace?
See, that's the other. I Wish inherently is just broken, but like,
yeah,
there's so many. Wish is so good. Yeah, you could go to World Peace, but at least that it's the player. I don't know how to word this. The person playing World Peace at least has to be at 4 energy, which gives like the red player a chance to respond. Like, So against like Shenron, Gogeta, what the red strategy would be like chain Zeno your opponent, or play Foreseeing Hit, try to rip the pieces and survive. You know, because you're getting to 4 energy, whatnot. You can do those things.
Right.
Against Super Shenron, you can't do that. Like, I was playtesting my baby list against Super Shenron online today, and I wasn't getting to that energy. You can't cast Foreseeing Hit. You can't. You might be able to change Zeno, and even then, you're probably still going to die on the follow up.
Yeah. So the problem, I love playing red. You know, Pan is my favorite deck to play, and it's essentially mono red. And I've kind of put Pan on the back burner, which is unfortunate, because I think it did get a lot of power. You know, like a lot of boosts with set 6, but. When the set first became legal, that following Monday, when it was our first local with legal set 6, I played. It was actually for the release event, so I played Pan mono red. I just made a couple choices to add in some tech cards here and there. Obviously, I added "Is That All You Got?" I was experimenting with the Agent of Destruction Vegeta, just normal progression that you would think, oh, I'm going to play these cards because they help, and I just got completely blown out by Super Shenron on turn 2, and it was the most disgusting thing ever. And it just discouraged me so much from playing Pan. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's Pan because she's a little more defensive. Let me try playing Baby. And it's just, I think red in general just needs to get to a certain sweet spot to play their power cards. And like you said, that turn is probably like turn 4 or turn 5. And you're not going to get there against Super Shenron because they're going to take a second turn before you can even get to your 3rd or 4th turn. So it kind of hurts because I do love red so much, and I think that set 6, especially with the Gogeta BR stuff, introduced a lot of interesting red cards and new mechanics and stuff like that, but it's just so discouraging sitting across from a Super Shenron player who's going to blow you out before you can even set up your strategy. It's like, at that point, it's like, well, I had this discussion with a buddy of mine. If you're listening, shout out to you, Evan. We go to our locals every Tuesday at Level 1 Games, and we have a player. He's a good player, but his main game is not Dragon Ball. He's a Magic player that just plays Dragon Ball because he likes playing the game. So he's a good player, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad player in any means, but he's just not a full-time Dragon Ball player. So there are, different things. So, I'm confident in my abilities. I think I'm pretty good at this game. So when I sit across from him, of course, I believe in myself. I give myself the edge, the competitive edge, because it's the game that I play full-time. But then you just drop Super Shenron, and it makes anyone good at the game automatically. And it's so frustrating because I know how to play against the matchup, and I know what cards to mulligan or what cards to save to keep for defensive plays, but I still can't do anything. So it's like, it's so frustrating because that should never be, in my opinion, an issue. There shouldn't be a deck that you can just throw together and give it to somebody off the street. And then I'm not saying that Ryan is the kid, his name is Ryan. I'm not saying that he's a bum or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, there's no way that you can throw a deck together and just give it to a random person and say, here, go win with this. Like, that just doesn't seem right in any means, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. At least I think with this version, I want to say it's a bit more skill intensive than the prior versions of Storm, but like, not actually sure.
Yeah, so
Wish is so good.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you address the problem cards, you're talking about your Child's Wish, and you're talking about the interaction of Child's Wish with its targets in the drop area. But there's just so many other things. You play your Child's Wish, you play Dragon Radar, you get them back, and you rinse and repeat, and it does the same thing over and over and over. So it's like multiple cards that you have to target now. So if you look at the deck in a vacuum, Child's Wish becomes a targetable card for either hard once per turn, errata, ban, whatever you want to call it. World Peace becomes a targetable card. Dragon Radar becomes a targetable card. At that point, shouldn't you just ban the leader? Because there's no other leader in the game that allows you to take a second turn. So I think you can also make the argument that if you ban Super Shenron, Child's Wish is still busted, but nobody's going to take a second turn on you.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you can take away my ability to do a second turn. I'm just gonna play Dende, and I'm just gonna turn 3 kill you with Agent of Destruction or the U7 deck, or I'm gonna rip your hand apart with the hand destruction version. Child's Wish is really good, and it's a card that limits future design because any 3 or less that's 15 or less that's remotely good becomes it's a Child's Wish target. Like Explorer Bulma came out in set 4, saw zero to little play. I think it got played once in ARG Virginia, or no, it was a PPG, but that doesn't matter. It was in Virginia. SS3 Yellow was playing it. But other than that, the card never really got played. And then Child's Wish comes out, and Explorer Bulma's insane. Like, the free on tap 2 draw card.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. We've been around the game for enough time to notice when something is a little bit, too powerful on the scale. And I hope that, Bandai has been really good about listening to the players in its community. So I really do hope that they're listening and they take it into consideration. Anything that gives you the ability to play a second turn in anything, whether it's card games or anything, second chances are always amazing. Even in life, like if you're given a second chance in life, it's usually a good thing. So I think I understand and I appreciate what they were trying to do, because I'm sure that the last thing they thought was, here's this deck that's going to use Explorer Bulma and be able to take a second turn on turn 3. I'm sure that was the last thing they thought of, but leave it to us degenerate players to figure that out and just to completely exploit the game. But at the end of the day, that's our job. That's our job as players. We have to break the game so they can make adjustments and make it more balanced. At least that's what I think. So this game's in a weird spot right now with Child's Wish. So, I think if we want to do the safe thing, just get rid of a Child's Wish and Super Shenron leader, and then probably the 2 safest bans. Well, hopefully we'll. I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon. At least I don't think. It's probably going to be around for the next month or so. At least it's probably going to still be around by the time the Atlantic City event rolls around. So it's something to prepare for. But I don't think the deck is unbeatable. I think there are some decks that have good matchups against it. In my opinion, obviously hand destruction hurts the deck a lot because you can't, play the cards in your hand. Obviously, they have a lot of cards in hand, but it makes it a little more difficult for them. So I think naturally, Lord Slug, with all the critical and all the hand destruction, does kind of make it a little more difficult for them to play. But still, I really don't think there's that sure hard counter to it. Like, Hercule, when it was popular, it was great, but then Janemba just completely hard counters that deck. And then Storm, when it was great, Hercule just completely hard countered that deck. It was almost like a 90-10 ratio when it came to winning or not. But I don't think Shenron has that silver bullet, so to speak. There are decks that have better matchups against it. I think the skillless Goku, the blue variant, has a pretty good matchup because it has access to Sensu Bean. But then again, you can make that argument for any deck that has access to Sensu Bean. So,
I agree with the skillless Goku, except for when they side in Height of Mastery. That's when I feel like it gets really rough.
Yeah, so that's also a really good point that you bring up. Not only is this deck potent for the way it's built for game 1, it could side into something way more lethal game 2. And it's okay, if I know I'm going to run into Super Shenron, what am I siding that's going to help me with this matchup? But is it also going to still help me game 2 when they side in their Height of Mastery? So it's kind of ridiculous in a way, because they could just literally just side in a package. They could just literally side in 4 Path to Greatness and 4 Height of Masteries, and then that's it. They're just done. Okay, cool. No problem. I'm just going to continue to play the deck, but just get to turn 4 instead now. It's kind of wild. It's Height of Mastery is a very, very strong card, and when Path to Greatness first came out, I got it. I understood why they did it, because they wanted people to play the card. And with the Broly stuff, that deck just lost to early aggression. I don't see it happening to Super Shenron because they can get so much advantage and so much combo power early and then turn on their super combos by just a sparking 5. So I think they're going to survive to turn 4 when they play their big turn, and then they're just going to take another turn and then play another Height of Mastery. So it just sounds pretty rough going up against it, but I feel like we're just beating on a dead horse at this point. I mean, it's the best. It's probably one of the best decks in the game, and if you're trying to do well at an event, you're most likely going to play it because that's what we do. We go to events to place well, but hopefully, in the near future, something happens to the deck. So let's move on because we could talk about Super Shenron all night, but I'm pretty sure not everybody wants to hear a 1 hour conversation about Super Shenron. So
yeah, no, probably not.
Yeah, so I know you're part of Team Ellipsis. Shout out to those guys, bunch of guys. We've had a few of them on the channel here on the podcast already, and hopefully we can get more and more on as we continue uploading these on a weekly basis. So if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about how you started your journey with Team Ellipsis and when you actually became a member of the team.
Okay, this is a long story. So
we got time.
Ellipsis started. When the team first started for Dragon Ball, it was Brian Coppola, who's the owner, Jason Coppola, his brother, Dave Biasotti, and then me, and Tyler Hawk. We were the original 5. It was just the 5 of us. We played at locals every week, set 2. Tyler taught me how to play. I helped teach Dave, Jason, and Brian how to play. And at first it was just one of those little local things. We're like, oh yeah, we're Ellipsis, it's a great time. And then me and Tyler started traveling for the game. So I went to the ARG Virginia. God. This was before regionals, I think it started. Or no. Yeah, regionals had started. It was the one that Peter Catani won, was Soul Striker.
Okay, I remember that event.
I went with an Ellipsis hat. It was a black hat with 3 dots on it, and I played the draft box Go Tanks. Nice. And ended up placing in the top 32 with the deck. I got a deck profile with the Hill Twins, and that was kind of when the start of Ellipsis being kind of known was. Mm-hmm. And then time passes. We pick up Eric Goodwin, Cameron, Connor Wood. Oh, God. Anyone else at the point? No, I think it was just we pick up those 3. Goodwin gets 33rd at Connecticut. Connor tops. And then Goodwin starts being Goodwin in the community and helps generate popularity. And then he betrayed us and went to T for T.
So he was originally on Ellipsis.
Yeah, that's the beginning origin story. Yeah, he's back now. Everyone's back. We feel like a Smash Bros. Commercial. Everyone's here. But yeah, it's a great time. These are my boys. I love them so much.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking with Goodwin and with Corbin, earlier on, they had nothing but great things to say about your group of guys. And, the most important thing about the community as a whole is to just find that consistent group of people that you can constantly bounce ideas off of each other and just constantly theory craft and play test. It goes a long way because if you're a lonely duck in a pond, you really have nothing to fall back on. I've been so fortunate in my area, or where I live in northern Jersey, that we just have local tournaments available to us every day of the week. We've kind of established a pretty consistent scene here, and I was able to put a team together of solid players that we're consistent, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and we have a lot of different thought processes and a lot of different ideas, but we can always bring it together and we can all benefit from it. I mean, I wish we can travel more and go to bigger events, but that is a little difficult sometimes when you take everybody's personal life and their, situations into consideration. But if I know you've traveled for several events, so if you would just talk about that, how is it, traveling for events? Does it become a little more difficult? Is it a lot easier now that you're on, a bigger team? If you wouldn't mind just sharing about that.
Traveling is the best worst thing in the world for me. And I say that because I work 3 jobs. I'm in college full time. So like what I have to do is I have to balance, leaving Thursday, coming back Sunday, and then doing all my homework either on the trip or as soon as I get back. And it's a lot of effort that has to be put in, but it's worth it because like traveling for events, you meet a lot of awesome people, and you meet a lot of awesome people. You make a lot of great friends, like the Hill Twins, Peter Gattani. All of them are they're all good, close little friends of mine. Like Tony Grattor is one of my favorite people ever, and like I wouldn't have met him if it weren't for traveling. So, as much like effort and hassle that comes with it, I think it's something that everyone should do. At least for like, if you get your invite to nationals, at least go there and just talk to as many people as you can.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big part of this community, and everybody knows everybody's history at this point. I came from Yu-Gi-Oh, and I definitely did not feel the camaraderie in that community that we have in the Dragon Ball community. Me personally, I haven't traveled to a lot of events, but because we're constantly in the loop and everybody just has such good open lines of communication, I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than just my local area. Like, Discord helps with that. Facebook helps with that. Obviously, all of the content creators on YouTube, all the people's Patreons, it helps keep everybody close knit. Obviously, some things are behind paywalls or whatnot, but we're not going to get into that. But the community as a whole has such a good lifeblood about it that I don't feel like it's unapproachable to just reach out to somebody and say, hey, what do you think about this? I've never really had a negative experience in this community just talking to somebody randomly. And sometimes, I might think about, okay, I don't want to, come off as this know-it-all or whatever and put my 2 cents in. But then, when I make the decision to just go ahead and put my thoughts out there, they're usually received with positive remarks. I mean, yes, you have your trolls, you have your people that spew negative thoughts and comments and stuff, but I think as a whole, for the most part, the community is in a really good spot. There's a lot of upper echelon people that are, salt of the earth, very kind, very courteous. I hear nothing but good things about, the players with higher profiles in the community, and I just wish that I could get out there and just physically meet somebody, because that, I think, is a more lasting impression than a conversation or like seeing somebody on a video. But, hopefully, as more events get rolled out, we can try to, work something out here so we can get, especially our players, to these other events, because I feel like we have a really solid team here that nobody knows about because, we don't get to go out to many big events, but hopefully that changes in the near future. So yeah, I mean, it's great. I love you guys. I love what you guys do. I love all of this, the stuff that you put out into the community. It's really good, and I'm glad that you guys were able to form a team together. But I do have a question. Kyle is one of the players here in our local meta.
Kyle Patterson?
Yeah, Kyle Patterson, yes. So shout out to Kyle if you're listening. I kind of bugged him a little bit. I was like, yo, man, what do I have to do to get into Cuddle Crew? And he was like, oh, I'll just send you an invite. And I was like, that's it? Like, that's all it takes? And he's like, yeah, it's just a bunch of people, this and that and the third. I have to ask you, like, how did Cuddle Crew start? Like, that's a great name, by the way. I just need to know, like, how you guys came about it, because there's a ton of people in your Discord. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's pretty impressive.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. My college Wi-Fi is not great.
No, it's no big deal. Basically, I was just asking, like, how did Cuddle Crew come about? Like, who started it? Who came up with the idea? And because you guys have a lot of members, so I was just curious as to how it formed.
How Cuddle Crew formed?
Yeah.
Dude, I have no clue. I got thrown in this thing.
Oh, man.
All right, so, God, there's an Atlantic City regional that ARG hosted. It was 2 days, 2 different tournaments, right?
Yeah.
I got third on the second tournament, or the Sunday.
You were playing. I think Bardock's crew, weren't you?
That was a different AC. I played Hercule for the one I got third at, but yeah, I played Bardock's crew. I got top. I got 32nd with Bardock, and I have funny stories about that one. But but yeah, so I got third with Hercule, And then, I'm all hype and stuff. And that was when Corbin Nesfetter and me, that's when we met. Because I had no idea who he was. He had no idea who I was. We were just in chats together.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, I get thrown in this Facebook group chat called Cuddle Crew. And I'm like, all right, what the heck is this thing? And it's like it's like Joe Sacalo, a bunch of people who I love. And like Jose Mercado, who, shout out to him, is one of my favorite people who ever exists. That guy's great. But also, I hate him for beating me in the finals and taking my regional win from me.
It happens. It happens.
But yeah, they threw me in there, and then they threw me in the Discord because they're like, yeah, why aren't you in here? And I was like, I don't know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I just got thrown into it yesterday, and I was like, I have a Discord, obviously, and sometimes like it gets pretty litty in there. So I was like, I'm expecting just like a couple people, but then I get in and I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot of people in this Discord, and some of them I know, some of them I don't.
This Discord's broken. We have I'm in here, Eric's in here, Markle's in here, Ryan Severin, Danny Wynn, Corbin, a couple other people. Like we have a bunch of like high tier big people in this chat, and it's just like you're in here now, Android's in here.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there's so many people in this chat. Like Sandy from England, who's also on Ellipsis.
Yep.
Cameron, like we have all these people in this chat, and it's just crazy when you look at it, like what it's become.
I mean, it's awesome, man. It's great, and that's what I was saying before about feeling like you're a part of a larger community, because it feels so familiar, which is great because obviously on a personal level, we probably don't know half of the people in the community, but because you're so tight-knit and you're doing something that's, you have a relation with to everybody else, you feel like you're a part of it. So it does kind of make it a little easier to just, I don't want to say blend in, but it makes it easier to consider yourself to be a part of something bigger than just a card game. And as cheesy as that might sound, at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, yes, we're playing a child's card game. We're paying ridiculous amounts of money for overpriced pieces of cardboard, but the community and the aspect of people, coming together to share one common goal is what makes it worth it at the end of the day. And as a content creator, it does, mean a lot when people reach out or, people give you their thoughts and opinions on something that you're doing, because it never starts off as something that you think is going to be received well, but it always ends up that way. And it's really good. And I'm very thankful for all the people in the community. And I'm very thankful for, sharing this experience with a lot of awesome people that I haven't had the luxury of meeting in person yet. Hopefully one day I will, but for the most part, I couldn't be happier. And, coming from other games, it's definitely not the same. And I wish it was for other people, because they're missing out on a huge aspect of the game. It's just really nice to be able to, feel like a team, so to speak. Even though we're all on different teams, we're all in different states, it feels like we're all playing for the same team at the end of the day.
I love this community. Like, I love talk. Like, so, I mean, we'll meet in AC because I'm going to the ARG, and I'm going to find you and be like, hey, we're friends now.
Okay, cool.
so what I do, and like Joe Sacalo can attest to this. My like opening line whenever we play a match is like, hey, I just want you to know I'm going to talk a lot. We're going to have fun. We're going to be friends at the end of this. Because my goal is I just want to talk to people. I want everyone to know that Ellipsis is a team of like fun-loving people, and I want people to just enjoy the game, because like this game can be a little rough sometimes with like our formats. So I want people to have fun while we're playing, and like I tell everybody that I meet, like, add me on Facebook, talk to me. Like I've got a lot of people who message me going like, hey, like, oh, I'm thinking of like this deck. What do you think? They send me lists. Like that's where the Ellipsis Deck Doctor thing came from. And I love interacting with people and helping them and talking to them, because like you said, it helps build the community and helps. And I think it's super awesome,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in the idea that the community lives and dies with its players, and if we are all constantly at each other's throats, we're never going to get anywhere. So it's nice to have. It's nice to have that backing from everybody else around you, Because the common goal at the end of the day is we all want this game to survive as long as it possibly can. And we're off to a good start so far. Dragon Ball has been pretty successful in its first 2 or 3 years of inception. But, I want it to get to, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be playing that long because life happens, but it would be nice to be able to trickle it down to, future generations. Like, I follow the tours and the pro tours and the ARGs, and there was a kid that was like 6 or 7 years old that was playing a baby Vegeta deck at one of these tournaments. Like, that's awesome to see, That
kid is my favorite player.
Yeah, he's so young, but he's like playing our game, and it's like, wow, like that's the future. Like, it's like you have, you might not notice it. You might put yourself in a position where you feel like on a personal level, you might not contribute to the community like others. Like that's the constant struggle that I have is I don't feel like, I put myself on this platform, whether it's YouTube or Podbean, whatever. I don't feel like I contribute nearly as much as everybody else does, but it doesn't matter because everybody else is part of the same team and you're trickling it down to that kid who's now playing. And it's like, indirectly, you had something to do with that, which is kind of awesome because that kid's hopefully going to have good experiences and hopefully he wrecks people because that's just amazing. Who doesn't want to see a 6-year-old be successful? Did you get to play against him by any chance when you were at the events?
It cut out again.
Yeah, no, I was just asking, did you get to play against that kid at all at one of the events? We seem to be having some technical difficulties. I do apologize. We're going to get Dylan back on here. He's typing. What's the question?
Can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's a quick little Verizon plug there. No, I was just asking that kid that we were talking about that was playing the baby Vegeta. Did you get to play against him at all? Did you get to see any of his matches?
So he was in Atlanta. That was the event that he did well at. Mm-hmm. And I watched a couple of his matches. I watched his stream match. I stood behind it, and I was just super hyped because he's good. That's the thing. Someone from the team was asking me, they're like, was the kid actually competent? And I was like, yeah, he's doing everything perfectly. He wasn't misplaying. He knew what all of his cards did. This kid was killing it.
Nice.
And it was awesome.
That is awesome. That's so cool. That is so cool. I mean, that's the goal at the end of the day. I have kids, so hopefully, my nerd gene or my fanboy gene rubs off on them a little bit, and they, it piques their interest in wanting to play Dragon Ball. Now, my kids are young. My oldest is only 3, but in 3 years she'll be able to comprehend what it is to play a card game. So I'm just hoping the day comes where she, walks into a room and says, "Hey, let's sit down and play some Dragon Ball. Teach me the way. Teach me how to play this game." And my ultimate my goal in life is for my kids to be better at everything that I am. I want my kids to be better at everything than me. So if my daughter can sit across the table from me and completely wash me one day, I will feel so accomplished as a parent. You'll have no idea how much joy I will feel that day. But that's the dream. It might be a simple one, but that's the dream. And seeing that kid play, it was cool, man. Getting to see stuff like that is really cool. I just wish I was able to be there for it because so many questions, why and how, but it doesn't happen without positivity because he's such a young child that I'm sure his parents don't want him to get involved in a toxic environment. So it does help when we have a lot of positive people in the community, and hopefully, it grows and more kids start playing the game because at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? It's a kid's card game. I
know. So ARG in North Carolina did a kids tournament for Victory Strike. Mm-hmm. It wasn't it was jam packed with kids, but there's 6 or 7, and even though that's a small number, it's still really cool to see I'm a college kid saying this, but the younger generation playing this game and interacting with adults and having a great time.
It's important. I mean, if the game does last as long as we all want it to, those kids are the ones that are going to pick it up and they're going to continue to play it. So in a way, we need those kids. You know, we need younger people to play the game. You know, we need as much of an outreach as possible, and you know, across not just North America, but you know, there's a big Dragon Ball scene in Europe. There's a big Dragon Ball scene in Latin America. There's a big Dragon Ball scene in Oceania, which is like New Zealand and Australia. So it's nice to see support on a globalized level from something that developed from such a small area, like such a small pocket of the world. It's nice for it to branch out, and I wish that, you know, other countries had, you know, better experiences when it came to like product releases and stuff like that. Sure. I mean, I'm sure that's just like a logistical detail that they have to iron out, but they're still having access to it and they're still playing the game. And, you know, those European championships were no joke, man. There's a lot of good players. If I'm not mistaken, Sandy Cater is on your team and he's from Europe. So that's incredible. When I found out that, you know, he became a member of Team Ellipsis, I was like, dude, is that even possible, having an international player on your team? That just seems so next level to me. It's like, dude, this game is a lot bigger than we are really recognizing right now, and I hope it just continues to get that way.
Yeah, I want a Worlds. That's what I want. I want to travel to Europe for a World Championship. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be nuts. I mean, hopefully we get there at some point. You know, we have to also be realistic. The game is just getting to its third year of existence, and I think it's moved very quickly for that short amount of time. Obviously, nothing but positives for the game, but, you know, it's still really early on. Like, we just have to be a little more patient and just continue to support the game, and eventually, I don't have any doubt in my mind that this game can definitely be one of the more popular card games that people play, just because of the way it's built, it's structured, the mechanics, the play style, the interaction. I love everything about it. I mean, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fanboy, so you put Dragon Ball next to any type of property and I'm gonna, you know, weeb out for it. But I love playing card games, and if it wasn't for Dragon Ball, I would have ended up getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And probably hating myself for it. So I'm glad that Dragon Ball exists, because I've seen how Yu-Gi-Oh! Has turned out, and I'm not too happy with where the game has gone, but that's neither.
Oh god, that's a whole separate podcast.
Oh yeah, that's, you know, we'll reconvene at some point in the future and talk about that. But, you know, we're approaching an hour here. I definitely wanted to thank you and thank Team Ellipsis for being such a great, you know, such great sports about everything. I've probably talked about half of your team already, which is great. But, you know, you spread the word. If anybody on your team wants to be on the podcast, please, by all means.
Yeah, I'll let everybody know.
I definitely like having conversations. It's a lot easier having somebody to talk to than just doing these by myself. So I really appreciate you coming on board. We're, you know, obviously ecstatic that you were able to reach out to us and we were able to coordinate, you know, getting something out for everybody. But before we go, real quick, if people who are listening to this podcast wanted to get in touch with you or Team Ellipsis as a whole, what social media platforms, if any, are you guys on, or if there's any type of website we can come visit? Where can we find Team Ellipsis online?
Okay, so Facebook-wise for the team, you can go to Ellipsis TCG. We have a homepage there. You can message us. Goodwin runs the whole thing, so if you want to interact with him, you can go through there, or you can message him on Facebook, or if you just want to talk about random stuff, anything Dragon Ball related, message me on Facebook at Dylan Ashcraft. We're also on YouTube. I run the Ellipsis YouTube page, and yeah, go subscribe and comment and all that jazz. I think we just hit 100 subscribers, which is really nice.
Congratulations!
Congratulations! I'm gonna do a giveaway of some sort, and if you guys want a spicy, fun list, I'm releasing a red-green Chilai wish leader involving the new dual-colored cards and the Oob Power Booster card. So it's actually really good. But
nice. Well, we'll definitely be looking forward to that. I'm gonna go as soon as we finish up here. I'm gonna go check out your channel and make sure that I subscribe to it as well. So before we get out, any last minute shout outs you want to give out before we wrap it up here?
Yeah. All right. Cool. Shout out to Ellipsis because I love you guys. Shout out to Jose Mercado again, Pat O'Neill, Matt Coombs for just being good old friends. Goodwin, Corbin, all that. And then shout out to my girlfriend Katie, who deals with all of my my ridiculousness when it comes to.
Oh yeah.
Bless her. She started playing this game just to hang out with me more, and that's a blessing. But like, bless her heart for hearing all of my like stupid ranting about card games at like midnight. It's a time.
It's super important, man. Like, I obviously, I have a wife and children, so having support from your significant other is always the most important thing. No matter how great the community is, no matter how awesome everybody has been to us here at No Counters, No Combos, without the support of my wife and my family, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, babe, if you're listening, thank you so much. I love you, and I'm sure that for all of those listening who are in committed relationships, I'm sure you can share the same sentiment. It's not always the easiest thing dealing with somebody who has a childish obsession, but we really do appreciate it. We really do appreciate the support. We really do, and it goes a long way when you because deep down inside we're still all 12-year-old kids, and we just want to have fun and not grow up, because growing up is boring. So. With that being said, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you again, Dylan. You've been a great guest. Anytime you want to come back on, man, just reach out, shoot me a message. I'm in the Cuddle Crew now, so it's very easy to get a hold of me. Anytime you're
Make sure to join, man.
Oh yeah,
we have big Discord chats. Make sure to join.
For real, I definitely will keep you guys unmuted, so I can bask in all of the notifications live without getting any type of delay. But again, we really do appreciate you spending some time with us. We're gonna get on out of here. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk again next week. Be there or be squared.